Welcome back to FryMinis. I'm Eric, and today we're going to cast Haste on our slowest players. As Dungeon Masters, we love all of our players equally as beautiful snowflakes, but we've all had those players that just take forever when it's their turn at your Dungeons & Dragons table. Let's talk about how we deal with someone who has a real-life disadvantage on their initiative rolls. But before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on my latest videos. To work with a slow player, we first need to understand their challenges. A new player might take a while on their turn because they're not yet comfortable with the rules. In my opinion, this is one of the most understandable delays. We were all new to tabletop role-playing games at some point, and I think we'd be hard-pressed to find a player who doesn't cut a brand new player a little slack here. The challenge comes when we try to define a new player versus someone who just hasn't taken the time to try to learn the rules. After countless Adventurers League games, I definitely feel that there's a large portion of our community that only learns the rules through osmosis. I'm the guy that'll read every book cover to cover a couple times and walk away with 95% of the rules memorized. But I also understand that I am in the extreme on that. Most people aren't able to commit that kind of time or brain space to a game, and that's okay. I'm making a video about Dungeons & Dragons rules, and you're watching it. We have both established ourselves as well outside of the average level of engagement. I'll admit it, I get frustrated when somebody continues after long terms of play to not get a foundational understanding of the rules and just won't sit down and read the player's handbook. Struggling with the differences between actions, bonus actions, and reactions a year into weekly play gets under my skin, but it's our responsibility as Dungeon Master to work with these players. Everyone gathers and retains information differently, and your player may not be physically capable of retaining this complex rule system. Alternatively, we have oblivious players. Sometimes that's just an innocent case of not realizing that they're taking too long, or occasionally taking too long. We all have a long turn here or there. That's no big deal. We're talking about when it's every single turn of every single game. More often than not, though, that just means somebody not paying attention. You know the kinds. They're head in their phone. They ask for everything to be re-explained at the start of their turn. They ask how many hit points every single monster has. They ignore the party's plan or don't even know the party has a plan. And most common, they haven't even thought about what they're going to do on their turn until it is their turn. Or they don't have a kind of a backup option. When in doubt, attack kind of thing. These players aren't bad people. They just might not be on the same page as the rest of the group. And of course, we always want to think of our group as a well-oiled machine. So when one of those gears is out of alignment, it really stands out. So what do we do with these players? We've got a couple of options, but only you and your group can determine the best route for your table. Our first option is to do nothing at all. If nobody has a problem with that one friend that takes forever, that's great. Sometimes that's just how a group works. If you do want to make a change, a private conversation should always be your first step. Nobody likes to be confronted, and making a public show of it all but guarantees a negative reaction. Talking to your players, opening up communications, that's how we get things done. Take a look at my recent video on player feedback to learn how to get some honest insights. You have to determine the root cause of the problem. If it's a knowledge gap, work to educate. If it's a lack of interest, maybe it's time to define your expectations. The next step would be to consider something a little more active. I'd suggest a timer. Now, there are quite a few ways to approach this, but whichever way you go, you'll want to apply it to everyone at the table. Singling out the slow player at the table will make it feel like a punishment. And remember, this is a game. We're all here to have fun. You might do a flat amount of time, maybe up to 3 minutes per turn. But my favorite way to handle this is a 1-minute timer to declare your action. As we all know, in combat, things change. You might be sitting there with a perfect plan all around, and then right before your turn, whatever you were going to do just isn't possible anymore. So then you need to reconsider. This 1-minute buffer gives you a little bit of time to consider a new action, but still keeps people on their toes and prohibits long-term sitting there planning, weighing every single course of action. In game, that whole round is all happening at the same 6 seconds. So we don't want to get bogged down in trying to align that real time to in-game time, saying, oh, you only have 6 seconds for your turn. I don't think that's that's feasible. But I do like to keep people kind of moving along. What you do on your turn might not be the absolute best thing you could have done. We just need to get something that's good enough and move on. So with that 1 minute to declare your action, you can decide what you're going to do, and then you get a little bit of wiggle room on to actually do your action. Rolling that fireball damage, or maybe you're a high level fighter, rolling out all your attacks. Sometimes it just takes a minute to do the math, to work through it. And I don't want to penalize somebody for maybe being a little slow on the math. I sure know I am. Overall, I think the timer approach is a good way to give your players a little bit of flexibility, but also sets an expectation of keeping things moving. After you do it for a while, I bet you won't even need the timer. People just get into that natural rhythm of, oh, I've got about a minute to do this. I need to decide what I'm going to do pretty quickly. I hope this helps your table. I know it helped both my personal game and Adventurers League random games. If you found some value in this video, please subscribe. Let me know how you keep your Dungeons & Dragons games on pace in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.